reaction after the game in Calgary and after practice yesterday? This game will not fall into that old idea of the first game back after a long road trip is the hardest at home. I would suggest you guys will be putting that one to rest.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long road trip. We were able to finish it off on a positive note, but we're looking to get better every day. I felt like we had a good practice yesterday, and get some new guys back in the lineup, and you're just excited to play at home. Kind of sleep in your own bed, and eat at home, not eat out every night. So Columbus played last night and got in late. It's important for us to not have a sleepy first, to get out there and do what we do best: skate, forecheck, play well defensively, and get the puck through the neutral zone.
And it's interesting. You've had their number at Nationwide, and they've played pretty well here. So what kind of things, I don't know if you go back to last year or the year before, but what kind of things do you want to see tonight to get off to that kind of start you just described?
Well, I look at the game we played there last year. Yeah, but it was a great start. We get the lead early, but the way we were able to create chances off the cycle, create chances off the rush, really stymie their rush game, and force a lot of turnovers in the neutral zone. And we played a real smothering defensive game, especially in the first period. I think that's important. That's what our team needs to do. Is we don't have to trade chances to create. It starts from our end of the rink, taking care of that and moving the puck through the neutral zone efficiently. I think that's super important. Then creating turnovers on the forecheck when we have to dump it in. I think we've started to do a better job of recovering some of those pucks that have been dumped in, and having guys in the right spot on the forecheck, and creating some extended zone time. And against a team that played the night before, you want to get on them before they kind of find their legs.
Adam, one of the hallmarks of this team over the last couple of years has been getting to your system extremely early in the season. I think hearing from you guys don't feel that you've got there yet. What's different about this year?
Well, I think over the last couple of years, just the amount of turnover, it's a lot easier when you're only integrating 1-2 guys into the lineup. A lot of the guys now, the systems, the style of play is second nature when a third of the team is coming in for the first time, and now it's getting those reads. It's making sure not only their reads are right, but your reads off them are right. And I think sometimes then you get forced and you caught thinking, and you play a beat slower than you want to. So having some practice time now, having guys back in the lineup, I think we're starting to find spurts of it. Now it's about consistently putting it together. It's great to do it for a period or half a game, but in this league, you take half a period off, or you don't put together a consistent or as close to a consistent 60, the other team's going to hurt you.
Speaking of guys back in the lineup, Morgan Barron looks like he's returning tonight, and Adam, you would have had a good seat to see his hot start to the season. Did any of that surprise you to see Morgan kind of develop into the center that he's become for this team?
No, I wouldn't say it surprised me. I think last year we got to see glimpses of it, and then kind of in that second half of the season where he moved down the middle almost predominantly, we started to see really kind of, I think, what everyone envisions he can become. He's such a powerful skater. He's so strong on the pucks, and he can dominate a game down low on both ends of the ice. And I think he took that to heart. Kind of seeing glimpses of where his game could go to in the summertime, and came in and had a really good camp and an unbelievable start. He was one of the drivers and one of the big reasons why we were off to such a hot start. So it was unfortunate timing with him getting hurt when he did, and we certainly missed him on the road. So it's going to be great to have him back in the lineup.
When you look at the four centers you guys will roll out tonight, good teams are built in many ways, right? But having four strong centers is a really valuable component, and I would say you guys probably have as good a top four as anybody in the league.
Well, I think it's certainly nice to have the depth that we have. I think it allows Arnie to run the bench a little easier in terms of being comfortable putting any line out against any line. You're not sheltering guys, you're not trying to hide guys from different matchups. I think we're comfortable with whatever line we throw out. to get the job done against elite lines in this league and, do damage against, I would say lower down in the lineup lines. So, I think Fordo did a great job filling in for Bear, but, having a guy who's had the start he's had coming back in the lineup, is certainly a big boost to our lineup.
I'm going to ask you to judge the quality of questions you received this morning versus the ones you received yesterday. But what does it mean for you to be involved with kids like that in the community?
Yeah, it's great. It's always fun to interact with them and see their personalities and their humor. Clearly, I'm out of touch with some of the meme culture going on. And I might have to get on TikTok just to see what they're talking about. But no, it's always fun. See their passion, their love for the game, and to be able to give back 5-10 minutes of my time. It's something I'm happy to do.